Last week we looked at the big picture and concentrated on drawing basic walls, doors, windows, and working with components, people, furniture, working with the floors and the roof. This week we will concentrate on the rest of the model so that in the rest of the semester we can come back and look at details of how to change the wall types and work with these elements. So let's go in the views here in the project browser on the left hand side. We'll go to the site. Double click on the site view and you'll see that we have these huge elevation markers. They're kind of in the way, so we can either hide them, or what we'll do is highlight those and pick them up, hold your left mouse button down here on those, and drag them here away from our drawing. But like I said last week, these elevation markers are what determine these elevations here in the project browser. On the site view, we also have the project base point and the survey point or base point. Last week we looked at typing in VG to turn on and off the visibility of some of the model categories, and also we have these annotation categories if you wanted to turn off door tags or different display of objects like the roof. Last week we used, and you can also then turn them back on just by putting the check mark in there. So what we also said that is if you select an object and right click, you can hide in view in either the element, you can either hide the elements that you have selected or the whole category. So for this site project base point and the survey point, which you can see the project base point is at 0 by default, we can right click, and I like to show you this hide in view elements. If you use category, you'll be able to use VG to turn it back on. But if you use elements, and I'll just go ahead and select both the survey point and the project base point individually, right click, pick hide in view and elements, then the way to get those back, or one way, is to pick the little light bulb icon down at the bottom left corner, just to the left of here, the sunglasses icon. So right here, reveal hidden elements, and by picking that you can see what those hidden elements are that you've temporarily hidden for your graphic display. And now if you need them back, you could right click, highlight them, right click, and unhide in view, or use the tools in the ribbon. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on that same light bulb icon to get back into our tools here that we're working with. Let's go to the Massing and Site tab and pick Topo Surface. When you pick Topo Surface, the default is to place points, and the elevation is at 0, 0. So I'm going to go ahead and establish here kind of a ground level elevation at 0, 0 around here my building. Now don't end the command, just change the elevation here to maybe -1 foot. And then out here in space, we're creating our next elevation level. So this is how you can start to create contour lines on your site. You can change this to something even here different, maybe -2, bringing it down just a small distance here away. And so whether you've inserted a drawing that's a JPEG file, we'll talk about that later in the semester, or you're just drawing it from scratch here, you can draw it by creating here, placing points. If you use your escape key to get out of placing points, you're still in the sketch. Remember last week we said that we have this green check mark and this red X that tells you that you're still in the sketch. You can select here individually these points You can even select a point, hold your left mouse button down on it, and drag your mouse across to change the contour lines. Once you've completed your points, you can go back in the ribbon to the green check mark and go ahead and pick the green check mark, and then we'll go to the 3D view, and you'll see that you've created here somewhat of a ground level that's kind of sloping up towards the building.
So now that we have our site topography, we can take a look at splitting the surface or using subregion to create kind of a pavement or sidewalk to our building. If we split surfaces, then it will actually split the solid of the topography. And so if we just want to put a surface on this topography, we'll use subregions. So let's go ahead and click on subregions, and then we'll use a rectangle for now to create kind of a sidewalk rectangle coming up to the door, or whatever design you'd like to use, because we have all of these draw tools to be a little more creative as long as it's a closed shape that we're working with. And so there's our shape. We can go ahead and pick the green check mark. And now I'm changing the visual display here to realistic instead of shaded, so that we can start to put some material on this surface. So if we select here the site topography, if you look in the properties panel, you'll see here material by category. If you click on by category, you'll see this little icon here on the right hand side with the 3 little dots. Click on that. Now over time in the different releases that are out there, they've separated these 2 panels, and then Autodesk brought them back together, and then they separated them again. So we have here the material browser. We can, this is the release 14, in 12, I believe it's 2 separate panels that look similar, and then in 13 it just looks a little different. I did create a video online that goes through some of those changes. If at the bottom left corner you look for an icon that will give you create new material, I think in some of the earlier releases you can just right click also to create a new material, but here we'll use this drop down at the bottom left corner. We'll pick create new material, and here highlight default new material, right click and pick rename. So I'm going to rename this my grass, just so that I know that it starts with an M, and all of the ones that are mine are going to start with an M. And so it could be a project name, it could be what type of grass, and then click on the icon that's at the bottom left corner here. Now this is different in earlier releases. There is a browser like this that automatically opens, and there are other ways to get to this browser. On the left hand side you have these different libraries that you can open. So you have an appearance library, and we'll talk about this with a little more detail when we start to render, and in the advanced Revit we'll really customize and look at these dialog boxes. But here, for what we're going to be working on, we're going to, under the appearance library, look for site work. If you have an earlier release, no worries, you can actually just do a search for grass, and you'll see all the different, I think there are only a couple in the earlier releases. But here, if you click on site work, what they've given us in 14 and in 15 are several different types of site work appearances, like pavers and grass and even the cobblestone. So you can go ahead and click on whatever grass you'd like. You can then right click and pick replace in editor. When you replace it in the editor, it becomes an asset called Appearance. So the Appearance tab is really what it will look like when you render. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Apply, and then double click on my grass over here on the left side, and you'll see that the material becomes my grass. And because I have it under Realistic, the visual display, I can click in space and see that that grass now will show in color. See, when I go back to Shaded, the visual display, there is no color. But if I wanted color, I could go back to here, select my model, and click on this material, and under graphics I could click on color and start to change here the color. Maybe I want to bring in some kind of a green just to visually show that color. There it is, while I have it under Shaded. So there is a difference between looking at the display under Shaded graphics and under here Realistic. You can see there's just a slight difference based on the colors that I picked. So under Realistic, let's go under Realistic here. Select here that sub-region that you placed. You can go under Material, and by category, click on here, this icon. And now I'll create a new material. Right here, I'll click here, New Material. And then I'll highlight it and right-click and pick Rename. And let's call that my sidewalk. Okay. With my sidewalk highlighted, I'm going to click here to open up the asset browser. And for the appearance, I'll go back to Site Work. You can decide on what you want to use, the cobblestone, gravel, pavers. Maybe you like the pavers. It might be interesting here. You can right-click, pick Replace in Editor. It becomes now your sidewalk. Appearance, I'll pick OK, or Apply and pick OK. And then if I click out in space, you'll see here that if I get close enough, there's my material. If you wanted something a little bit more visual, you could come back here and start to experiment with some of these different graphics, like the cobblestone. Maybe I'm going to replace, so I'll replace it with the in editor for the cobblestone, and there it is. There's the cobblestone. So under Realistic, you'll be able to see it. When you render this, you'll really see the graphics, and we'll talk about rendering when we start to work with rendering in a few more modules. If we go to the visual displays, we can pick graphic display options and change the transparency back to 0 and pick Apply and OK, so that we can bring our drawing back to those materials that we're showing. We only actually changed here one wall, but you can go ahead and change those if you would like to have all of the exterior walls with this type of brick that we worked with. You can do that by just selecting the wall and then changing it in this type selector. I believe we might have used the brick on metal stud, and you'll see the brick right away once you do that. We can bring some trees in here. So in the Massing and Site tab, under Site Component, it's the same type of drop down, but only it's condensed to less here components. We have trees that we can work with. So whether you go to Massing and Site and pick Site Component, or Architectural Component and place the component, see the difference is that placing a component, you'll have all the tables and chairs and different things that you've loaded. If you go to Massing and Site and pick Site Component, then you will have a shorter here drop down with just the trees and things that you might want in the site. You can pick some of these trees if you'd like to. Put them on your project. This is yours to work with. You can click out in the project and see that it will automatically pick up here on that elevation. So you won't have to be too concerned about the tree, floating anywhere in the model. So you can go to Site Component and bring in maybe some people. We talked a little bit about people. If you want to make sure that the person is actually standing, if you go to Alex, for instance, and you want to see that he's actually standing, although the graphic might show here that he's standing, you want to go to Edit Type here in the Type Selector and pick on Render Appearance and click on Alex. And then here you can kind of see, yeah, he is standing. There, I can go ahead and close out of that because I know that he's not sitting down anywhere. There he is. I can kind of click there and put him in the drawing. As we said before, once you start Site Components, you can pick Load Family. And what we found was that the people were under Entourage. So if you didn't have those people in there, you can load those. If you want to load a car, a van, or other families that we said you could go find online at the different sites. I believe that Autodesk also has some of these families. They're the extension RFA. Once you load them, you can bring them into your drawing and start to move them around and drag and drop them. You can even go out of the 3D view and into the site view if you want a little more control, looking at it here in the site plan to move those elements around. Let's go to the 3D view again. We really should here highlight the 3D view, right click, and pick Duplicate View. We want to create a duplicate of this view and start to create here views based on what we want to see on our sheets, based on maybe working environments. Some people will create views so that you can actually work in that view. Although when you're in the model, if you delete a door, then that door will be deleted from all the other views. So this is one BIM model that affects all of the different views. There are ways of changing then the settings of the view so that it's specific to that view. And we looked at some of those things. So right click and pick Duplicate View and duplicate. And then you can go to the copy of the 3D, right click and rename that and call this 3D Exterior Rendering. And then pick OK. So now we have a view that has a name, and when we bring it onto our sheet, that's going to be the name of the view. We'll move forward to go to the first floor plan. So over here on the left side, we renamed our level 1 to first floor plan earlier last week. If in the first floor plan you don't want your trees to show, you can select the tree, right click, and go to Hide in View category. If I have people here, though, I don't want to hide those in the category. I can hide them here as an element. So click on it, right click, go to Hide in View element if I don't want to see those here in my first floor plan. In order to see the second floor, in the Properties palette under Underlay, we can drop this list down here and pick First Floor Plan and pick Apply. That way we can actually see here the second floor and know where our stair will be placed. Under the Architecture tab, We have a circulation panel. We can go to stair and notice that there's a stair by component and a stair by sketch. So you can create a stair by sketching it. For this beginning, we're going to click on stair by component. And if you look under components, we have spiral stairs and winders, U-shape, and then we have a run and we have a landing. If you look under properties, you'll see that it will automatically know the distance between the two floors. You're establishing here the 7-inch riser and 11-inch tread, but there are times when we want to change that. We can pick edit type and change some of these parameters, these rules, but before you start doing that, as we said in the first video, you want to make sure that you duplicate everything. So you can click on duplicate, give it a name, and then start to change some of these settings so that you're constantly creating your new families. And these are system families that are within the drawing. See, here's the width and the depth and the riser. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of that. You also have this in the options bar here. You have a choice of changing the width here. So the first point that you click is where the stair will start. If I click halfway up, then we will be creating a landing. But I want to go all the way and make it a straight run. Go all the way to the end, past the end, and click. I can pick the green check mark to finish that stair, and notice that it will only go up so far and then give you that break here to show you the dash lines. In the View tab, we can click Section and then left click and pull our mouse down here and left click so that we can take a look at the section through these stairs. Now it's in the project browser. You can double click on section 1 here, or you can just double click on the section head itself. This is our section. We haven't put foundations in yet or talked about line work, which we will be, but you can see that the stair is coming over and there's the opening. In the first floor plan, I'll move my section over. I can highlight it and hold my left mouse button down, drag my mouse over and let go so that I can double click on the section head or on the section in the browser and see there's my opening. Now select here the stair, pick move, click here at the beginning of the stair or the top of the stair stringer, pull your mouse over and click here where you want to move it. Let's go to the second floor plan. In the second floor plan, we need to put a railing around this opening. In the second floor plan, we can go to architecture and railing and sketch a path. Sketch a path, and one of the options is to pick lines. So I'm going to go ahead and pick lines, and I know there are several different types of handrails, and there's a whole dialog box that you can use to edit those railings. But here, what we want to do is to create a sketch. I actually picked lines, selected all of these lines. Now if I use my escape key and delete this line here, I don't need this one. I can now draw with a line from here to here. We can now click the green check mark and take a look at our section. One of the last things I'd like to show you in this week's module is to type in VG, and under model categories you can go to walls and you have all these overrides. So the cut pattern here, we can click on override and change the color to black and change here the pattern to solid. And by doing that, we can pick apply, you can see that the walls are going to be, black in here to make for a nice graphic here section. So I could continue to highlight floors and change the cut pattern and click on override and make that for this view here solid. So this is how we can start to work with the graphics of the view itself. We'll come back to some of the line work and adding ceilings and lights and a lot of other things in this course. And also you can change your visual display to realistic and see the graphics of people and any plants that you put in there, tables, chairs. But please keep in touch with me if you need any help. Like I said, we have more ground to cover, but in this first couple of weeks, we wanted to kind of get the big picture project to take a look at some of these settings that are in the architecture tab, like walls, doors, windows, roofs, floors, stairs, and the graphic displays.